Okay, this is audiobook reading of pages 17 to 21 of The Diary of a Young Girl, Anne Frank. Sunday, July 5th, 1942. Dear Kitty, the graduation ceremony in the Jewish theater on Friday went as expected. My report card wasn't too bad. I got 1D, a C minus in algebra, and all the rest Bs, except for 2B pluses and 2B minuses. My parents are pleased, but they're not like other parents when it comes to grades. They never worry about report cards, good or bad. As long as I'm healthy and happy and don't talk back too much, they're satisfied. If these three things are all right, everything else will take care of itself. I'm just the opposite. I don't want to be a poor student. I was accepted to the Jewish Lyceum on a conditional basis. I was supposed to stay in the seventh grade at Montessori school, but when Jewish children were required to go to Jewish schools, Mr. Elty finally agreed, after a great deal of persuasion, to accept Liz Gosler and me. Liz also passed this year, though she has to repeat her geometry exam. Poor Liz. It isn't easy for her to study at home. Her baby sister, a spoiled little 2-year-old, plays in her room all day. If Gabby doesn't let her way, she starts screaming. If Liz doesn't look at her, Mrs. Gosler starts screaming. So Liz has a hard time doing her homework, and as long as that's the case, the tutoring she's been getting won't help much. The Gosler household is really a sight. Mrs. Gosler's parents live next door, but eat with the family. Then there's a hired girl, the baby, and the always absent-minded and absent Mr. Gosler, and the always nervous and irritable Mrs. Gosler, who's expecting another baby. Liz, who's all thumbs, gets lost in the mayhem. My sister Margot, page 18. My sister Margot, brilliant as usual. If we had such things as cum laude, she would have passed with honor. She's so smart. Father has been home a lot lately. There's nothing for him to do at the office. It must be awful to feel you're not needed. Mr. Kleiman has taken over Opekta, and Mr. Kugler, Guys & Co., the company dealing in spices and spice substitutes that was set up in 1941. A few days ago, as we were taking a stroll around our neighborhood square, Father began to talk about going into hiding. He said it would be very bad for us to live cut off from the rest of the world. I asked him why he was bringing this up now. Well, Anne, he replied, you know that for more than a year we've been bringing clothes, food, and furniture to other people. We don't want our belongings to be seized by the Germans, nor do we want to fall into their clutches ourselves. So we'll leave our own accord and not wait to be hauled away. But when, Father? He sounded so serious that I felt scared. Don't you worry. We'll take care of everything. You just enjoy carefree life while you can. That was it. Oh, may these somber words not come true for as long as possible. The door's bell ringing. Hello's there. Time to stop. Yours, Anne. Wednesday, July 8th, 1942. Dearest Kitty, it seems like years since Sunday morning. So much has happened. It's as if the whole world had suddenly turned upside down. But as you can see, Kitty, I'm still alive, and that's the main thing, Father says. I'm alive all right, but don't ask where or how. You probably don't understand a word I'm saying today. So I'll begin by telling you what happened Sunday afternoon. At 3 o'clock, Hello had left, but was supposed to be coming back later. The dole bell rang. I didn't hear it since I was out on the balcony, lazily reading in the sun. A little while later, Margot appeared in the kitchen doorway, looking very agitated. Father has received a call-up notice from the SS, she whispered. Mother has gone to see Mr. Van Daan. Mr. Van Daan is Father's business partner and good friend. I was stunned. A call-up? Everyone knows what that means. Visions of concentration camps and lonely cells raced through her head. How could we let Father go to such fate? Of course he's not going, declared Margot as we waited for Mother in the living room. Mother's gone to Mr. Van Daan to ask whether we can move to her hiding place tomorrow. The Van Daans are going with us. There will be 7 of us all together. Silence. We couldn't speak. The thought of father off visiting someone in the Jewish hospital, at the completely unaware of what was happening, the long wait for mother, the heat, the suspense, all this reduced us to silence. Suddenly, the doorbell rang again. "That's hello," I said. "Don't open the door," exclaimed Margot to stop me, but it wasn't necessary since we heard Mother and Mr. Van Dam down the stairs talking to Hello, and then the two of them came inside and shut the door behind them. Every time the bell rang, either Margot or I had to tiptoe downstairs to see if it was Father, and we didn't let anyone else in. Margot and I were sent from the room as Mr. Van Dam wanted to talk to Mother alone. When she and I were sitting in her room, Margot told me that the call-up was not for Father, but for her. Let me turn to the next page. This is page 20. At the second shock, I began to cry. Margot's 16. Apparently, they want to send girls her age away on their own. But thank goodness she won't be going. Mother had said so herself, which must be what Father had meant when he talked to me about our going into hiding. Hiding? Where would we hide? In the city? In the country? In a house? In a shack? When? Where? How? These were questions I wasn't allowed to ask, but they still kept running through my mind. Margot and I started packing our most important belongings into a school bag. The first thing I stuck in was this diary, then curlers, handkerchiefs, school books, a comb, and some old letters. Preoccupied by the thought of going into hiding, I struck the craziest things in the bag, but I'm not sorry. Memories mean more to me than dresses. Father finally came home around 5 o'clock, and we called Mr. Kleinman to ask if we could come by the evening. Mr. Van Dam left and went to get Miep. Miep arrived and promised to return later that night, taking with her a full bag of shoes, dresses, jackets, underwear, and stockings. After that, it was quite quiet in our apartment. None of us felt like eating. It was still hot, and everything was still strange. We had rented our big upstairs room to a Mr. Goldschmidt, a divorced man in his 30s, who apparently had nothing to do that evening, since despite all our polite hints, he hung around until 10 o'clock. Miep and Jane guys came at 11. Miep, who has worked for Father's company since 1933, has become a close friend, and so has her husband, Jan. Once again, shoes, stocking, books, and underwear disappeared into Miep's bag and Jan's deep pockets. At 11:30, they too disappeared. I was exhausted. This is page 21. I was exhausted, and even though I knew it'd be my last night in my own bed, I fell asleep right away and didn't wake up until Mother called me at 5:30 the next morning. Fortunately, it wasn't as hot as Sunday. A warm rain fell throughout the day. The four of us were wrapped in so many layers of clothes, it looked as if we were going off to spend the night in a refrigerator. And all that just so we could take more clothes with us. No Jew in our situation would dare leave the house with a suitcase full of clothes. I was wearing 2 undershirts, 3 pairs of underpants, a dress, and over that a skirt, a jacket, a raincoat, 2 pairs of stockings, heavy shoes, a cap, a scarf, and lots more. I was suffocating even before we left the house, but no one bothered to ask me how I felt. Margot stuffed her school bag with school books, went to get her bicycle, and with Meek leading the way, rode off into the great unknown. At any rate, that's how I thought of it, since I still don't know where our hiding place was. At 7:30, we two closed the door behind us. Morgie, my cat, was the only living creature I said goodbye to. According to a note we left for Mr. Goldschmidt, she was to be taken to the neighbors who would give her a good home. The striped beds, the breakfast things on the table, the pound of meat for the cat in the kitchen, all of these created the impression we'd left in a hurry. But we weren't interested in impressions. We just wanted to get out of there, to get away and reach our destination in safety. Nothing else mattered. More tomorrow. Yours, Anne. All right, so that's where we will stop. And now you can go answer the questions in the Google form.